change fit in. So quickly also as a commission, we realized that capital markets needed to do their part. And yes, we do have the products already in place, but we thought we needed to be strategic and intentional in how we can channel funds to green and environment-friendly projects. Yeah, and that is how we developed the green bond guidelines. So basically, the guidelines then make it possible for a company to come and raise financing through issuing a green bond, meaning that there is something then that's a little bit different. Remember, I mentioned we have corporate bonds, we have government bonds. The common factor there is bond. If we're going to do sets, we'll be saying the common denominator there is the bond. But then there's something different, right? One is called government because it's issued by government. One is called corporate because it's issued by corporates. A green bond also can now either be issued by the government or a corporate. But why are we calling it a green bond? Because there is something unique about a green bond. So for a green bond, like when we talk about a normal bond, a bond is a loan. I always say if we're just going to put it in our own term, in our own language, Ninkongole, it's a loan, right? So a company will come and say, okay, nifuna kutenga Kongole, so that I can invest it in this project, right? And so now we have to agree on certain terms, right? Okay, ngatu Kongola, how long are you going to take? Uzaka bweza dit indalama. Okay, I think 5-10 years. Okay, so manje ndrama mnatenga uzambo nidi pila interest zingati. That's the coupon, right? So you agree, say, okay, I think interest I will be paying you this rate. Okay, how often are you going to be paying me that interest? Twice a year, right? Yes. So you get your coupon semi-annually. So you see how we make these things sound fancy, but they are so simple. And then ultimately now, because it's a green bond, there's a key issue now which comes in when we talk about disclosure. When you're coming to me, I'm interested in knowing what are you borrowing the money for, right? So if a friend comes to you and say, boy, ni Congo reseko, nifuno enda, kushoka ndalama or something, you'll be able to say, you want to go and waste the money? Wesinza Congolesa. But if someone is saying, boy, niliko naka business idea, nifuno order rice, nikagulisa, then from the money, because you also want to know where is the interest coming from. So nikagulisa to rice, then nija profit, niza kupasa, kuna nje interest yako. That makes sense. There's a business case, right? Someone has to buy, exactly. So it's an idea, it's a project. So you have to disclose what are you getting the money for. So when you're talking about a green bond, that money that you are borrowing has got to go to a project that is termed green. So it can't just be any project. Then you can use the other financing options. But for a green bond, the project has to be green or environment friendly. And then now there's a whole, probably we'll do another town hall looking at exactly what is green and how can we actually confirm. Because I can say that is green, but there has to be that confirmation to the investors that this project is green. And that is covered in the guidelines as well. Because you have to go and get an independent reviewer to certify that your project is green. And once you have like that stamp or that certification or that documentation, the investors will say, okay, it is a green project, and then the funds can then come to you. So, that's what makes a green bond a little bit unique. The funds that you're raising have to be channeled to a project that is green or environment friendly. And then outside of that now, we don't just end on, you raised the money and it went to a green bond, happy, let's go home. There's that whole monitoring process. Are you actually taking the money to that project, right? So if you said you're doing a solar project, where is it ultimately, So there's that now monitoring that goes on, and you have to keep on reporting back to the investors so that they know that, this is where our money went, and look at how it is performing, it is doing well, maybe there are issues, etc. But ultimately that's how that whole spectrum sort of works. So that is a green bond. So I think I've covered, so those are some of the salient features that are in the guidelines. The use of proceeds, very important, like I explained. Where is the money going? Disclosure on the project selection, right? How do we know that it's green, right? And then management of the proceeds. You don't want to take 10,000 and then use 4,000 for the green project and 6,000 for something else. So those proceeds also, we have to make sure that they're going to the intended use, as you told us when you were raising the financing, and then also now the ongoing obligations. So excitedly, as Zambia, I think after launching our green bond guidelines, we've had at least a green bond issuance, our inaugural green bond issuance, and that was in December of 2023 when Copperbelt Energy Corporation, so it's a listed company, so CEC Renewables came and registered a $200 million green bond, and then they came into the market, so they raised it in tranches. So tranches are like phases. So in phase one, they came to the market. Of that 200 million they had registered, they first raised 54 million, and it was oversubscribed, meaning that there were more investors, more money than the 54 that they were looking for, which is a positive signal, right? And this was at a time when Zambia was also going through debt distress. So that already tells you something, that you have investors that are keen to invest in these green and environment-friendly projects. So CEC raised 54 million, which they channeled into a solar plant. So they have two sites, Itimpi and Riverside, and they're already generating electricity from the solar plants. They came back into the market 1 year later, that's December 2024. Phase two, they were able to raise 96 million, so they took advantage of that oversubscription the first time, but even in the second one, it was still oversubscribed. So that shows you that there's the demand out there also from the investors. And so right now, the second solar plant is actually under production. So that's like a good example of, we have the framework, you can actually use it. So it's like a use case. CEC did, they raised the money, they went and did a project, which is very, very critical now that we are having an energy crisis, because they are now able to generate power using an alternative renewable energy, which is solar. So basically, I think that's how it works. So to conclude my presentation, as the Securities and Exchange Commission, I think we are very keen, we are very focused on being intentional about playing our role in climate action, climate adaptation. And as the SEC, we are also a secretariat to the Green Finance Mainstreaming Working Group. So Zambia's financial sector has got three parts. We have the central bank, the Bank of Zambia, which regulates banks and non-bank financial institutions. We have the Pensions and Insurance Authority, who regulate insurance and pension funds, and ourselves as the capital markets regulator. So we are not working alone in this fight. Right? So we are working with the other financial sector regulator through this working group, together with the government through the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, and the Ministry of Lands, and other key technical partners, the UNDP, Biofin, WWF, Prospero, Zika, GGGI. And together, we are working towards mainstreaming green finance into the whole Zambian financial landscape. So capital markets, we are talking of green bonds, and they are the members of the Green Finance Mainstreaming Working Group. And so we also have green loans on the Bank of Zambia side as well, right? So we are working together, collected efforts to make sure that we are mainstreaming green finance, not just in capital markets, but in the whole Zambian financial landscape. So you hear about green loans and other products, and the insurance space also doing their part, so that they are also together with us in this fight against climate change. So I think I will end by just making that call to action, because we don't want this to just be a conversation, or we went, you tick a box, oh yeah, it was an interesting presentation. As you are walking away, you really have to ask yourself, what role can I play? You know, after everything that we have gone through, what role can I play? So you can either go out there and disseminate the information, you can raise awareness, you can educate, you can interact with people that have potential projects, you know? Like, did you know that actually your project can get financing through capital markets, you know? And then you make that link and connection. But also you can play your part in the savings mobilization, you know? There is no saving which is too small. So your 5,000, you know, your 100 kwacha, 50 kwacha, you know, you can buy, you can invest in different products that are in the market, but at least you can also be deliberate in knowing, oh, I'm an investor, and when you're talking about that solar plant in CNC, I'm actually an investor, for that project. So everyone can do something. Everyone must do something. So as you leave, you need to make that pledge. As you are leaving the sextant, we want to hear what your pledge is going to be, because we are making a call to action to this climate challenge. What are you going to do about it? Thank you so much.
Great presentation, Leah. Thank you so much.
Are you on? Is it on?
Great presentation, Leah. Thank you so much. There you have it, guys. All of us have a role to play. The call to action has been made. You can also contribute in your own way. Anyway, no amount is little, as Leah said, right? Just to confirm, are we good on Zoom? I could see some comments where people were not getting us. Are they good now? That's fallen out? Okay, great. Okay, we now get into our question and answer session. I'll start with the questions that I have in Zoom. This is a contribution, and I would like Leah to just comment on what this is. So this person is saying, climate change is a hoax for the African continent. Continents like Europe and North America developed after industrialization, and then now they come and promote climate change to the African continent, which will slow down progress of our economies that are still growing. Asia, for one, has refused to buy into this climate change hoax. They continued with their industrialization drive and have grown into powerful economies. So climate change adaptation doesn't help us. We just want to look favorable to the Western world. It's a hoax. What's your comment on that?
I wish I could say, I'm coming from home, I don't have power.
Exactly.
We are talking about just coming from a drought and many other adverse effects that we are seeing.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of it, you can't ignore what is happening.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be prudent to sit back and not do something about it.
Yeah.
So I think the core really is each one of us wants to do our part, right? Mm-hmm. So we can't close or give a blind eye to what is currently happening and the challenges that we are facing. So we want to make sure that we are doing what needs to be done. We've also seen that shift also in the landscape for investors, right? Where you are seeing more investors wanting to invest in climate-friendly projects, etc. Yeah. And especially if, was it last year, a few months ago, when one of our rivers was intoxicated,
exactly.
Right?
Yes,
and the fish was dying, and it's hard to ignore such things, right?
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that what are we doing just to try and lessen and mitigate the impact that we are seeing from climate change. Yeah. Look at how July has been.
Exactly.
By now it would be warming up, and so the changing in rain patterns and all. So we don't want to give that a blind eye, really.
Yeah, and it's something one can't really ignore, no matter what. It's affecting all of us, and so we all have a part to play, and the sooner we accept it and do something about it, the better, right? Okay, so we do have some other questions also. We have a hand up from, let me just check. Okay, while we're still trying to figure out the people online, do we have any questions from our audience here? Yes. You could give us your name. I know you're all from UNZA, but at least you can give us your name. Be a bit louder so that the audience can get you. Okay. Could you stand? We can't hear you.
So I have three questions. The first one is regarding what somebody asked. Just to get what can be done, like looking at the situation in the climate change, what does Zambia use to do to scale up green financing for climate adaptation?
What can Zambia?
What does Zambia use to do?
Okay. Okay.
The second one, be more specific, like the way we get what role do you want us to play project in educating the public. We emphasize what the importance of climate change and what has been said, done so far to educate other people about climate change, especially specific in the agriculture sector. It's mostly farmers. What has been done to make sure that information has reached the details of our lives. I feel like the public may not be much aware, especially in rural areas where people only access the internet through radio. So maybe we can get more insight on actually what has been done behind the scene.
Okay. Your name again?
George.
George. We've got 3 very packed questions. Leah?
I told you about
Yeah. So the first one,
students.
he says, what can Zambia do to scale up financing for climate adaptation?
A fantastic question. And I'll take it from 2 parts, right?
Yeah.
So from the one side, I think it's really what we are doing as a financial sector. And not to say that it's enough, I think more can still be done. We are talking about green bonds, right? So we also want to make sure that first and foremost, we have the regulatory frameworks in place, right? The enabling environment for people to be able to come and raise this financing. So looking at being innovative about how we structure these products. I did elaborate on the green bond, but we are also not ending there as a SEC. We are already working on municipal bonds. Municipal bonds, we are working directly with the councils to try and structure a product where a municipal council can come, raise, issue a green bond or a municipal bond, and use those proceeds for a project that, like we said, yes, is green, and yes, and in that municipality.
Okay.
And so we are not ending there, you know, so we have to keep on looking at what is relevant, what are the needs, what is needed, so that ultimately it's relevant to the Zambian level as well, and looking at what are the needs also in Zambia. We are also trying to develop sustainability-linked products as well. So I think it's also a call, I think, from him to the financial sector. We need to do more in this. And as a financial sector, we are not going to sleep. So we want to see to it that the products are available. And when people need to raise this financing, this can be made possible. It shouldn't be that, oh, I could have, but then we didn't have a framework, or there wasn't a product that we could use. But then also on the flip side of the coin, I think, of that question is, if the funds are available, remember how I said like the CEC green, the green bond, it was oversubscribed, right? So if there is actually more, the question is, do we also have enough to tap into that? So this is also on the project side. We want to also see more and more projects, yes, that are being developed and tailored, and I think some of them are there already. So it's now, I think, conversations around packaging, the bankability of these projects, so that they can be structured in ways that can enable them to be able to access this financing. So I think, it's on both sides. So we, as a financial sector, we need to do our part. Government also, I think, is doing their part to ensure that the policies, the frameworks are in place. And then on the other side, I think it's also the ensuring that we do have that project pipeline to be able to come and access this financing.
Okay. So he went on to mention that what would we want to see as SEC from partners like Unzabeka? How do they come in?
Fantastic question. And I'll hold you to this. You're not going to ask me this question and disappear.
So here's what you could do.
Yes. and that's why we said we want to hear a pledge from you, right? And I'll also link it, I think, to the third question that you already asked about awareness, right? Yes, because I think that is key. That is priority number one. We need to do more in raising awareness and disseminating the information. And so, yes, the SEC has to do their part, but we need partners on this. That is why we're saying it's a call to action. We need partners. Someone can't, after this interaction, no one should go and, sleep with all this information, right? So if 10 of us here can go and just say, I'm going to share this information with 20 people, 20 by the 10 in one day, we are saying 200 people have received this information. And if the ones you've shared with, we create that ripple effect. Just by the end of the month, how many people will we have reached with this information? So that is why it's a call to action, and everyone needs to do their part. So whatever opportunity that we get, we will do what we can when we talk about sensitization. But also, as a commission, we are doing these structured ways also of disseminating the information, right? We have our monthly town halls.
Yeah.
We interact with different clusters of age groups. So outside, we've done the gamified, what did you call it? Gamified educational tools, right? So it's not just your usual snakes and ladders. We've greened it up, right?
Yeah.
So there's information there that even little children can start to learn about, you know, climate change, adaptation, etc., and different other tools also that are being used. So, and also it's capacity and awareness also to the project owners, right? You spoke about the small scale farmers. So, you know, how can we start to package some of these projects and see so that they can be made bankable, so that they can also be able to come and access this financing. So I think a lot has to be done and still needs to be done, I think, so that we can disseminate the information, but not that it should end at awareness and education. We want to start seeing results.
Okay.
There has to be action. That's why we're being very intentional. And we also want to use young minds like yourselves, you know, bring ideas like, okay, so how can this be done? So that when we are leaving here, next we should be talking about, you know, there's a group of farmers that came together and they did this and that, and this is how they were able to access financing. So that we moved from rhetoric and more centered on action.
Okay. So you talked about bankability. How could you break that down to the layman, the person out there who's listening to this word for the first time? What do you mean when you say bankability?
You couldn't let me get away with just one fancy word.
No.
So, so when we talk about bankability, right?
Yeah.
When you're going to come and access financing through capital markets, right? Let's say I have a project at home. I may be doing, I have a small project and I want to raise financing, right? There are certain requirements that I am going to have to meet.
Okay.
Remember that we spoke about investors, right?
Yeah.
If you are investing money, you want to first and foremost know that, where am I investing? Is it a viable project? Would somebody just readily go and invest money? You're already taught from the beginning that this project is going to fail. Will you be willing to invest the money? No, right? So you are first of all looking at the viability of the project, the governance frameworks that project that are surrounding that project, right? Okay. How are you monitoring? How do you work? You know, what governance structures have you put in place?
Okay.
So it's that whole ecosystem and universe, and then you now start to look at the scalability, also the scale of the project, right? How much money are you looking for? And usually for capital markets, we said long-term financing, and it's usually in big amounts, right?
Exactly.
But that's not to say we completely exclude the MSMEs, because you could have a situation where an issuer can come, so a company comes, raises money, and they go and onward lend. So I can give an example. A bank can do that, right? Issue a green bond and say, I'm going to use these funds to lend, to give loans to small MSMEs who have smaller projects, right? That we've covered your smaller companies, your smaller businesses and all. So the bankability really is looking at those different factors.
Okay. Okay, great. There you have it. Any other questions from our audience? Yes, my dear.
Hi, my name is Sandy.
Okay.
And first I want to say that was a very great presentation. There's a lot of things that come to life for me personally that I didn't know. Leah, you've given us a very good detailed insight on SEC internally for us and what SEC does for us as a country and for the people and citizens. My question is on a broader perspective. I would like to find out if SEC has any entanglement or has engaged in certain activities with external players or other organizations on an international level, and what do they do for us and what do we do for them?
Thank you. Fantastic question again. Yeah. The youth are taking the lead. Yeah. So that's a very good question. So I'll take it from two angles again.
Okay.
And the first one I think will be from the investor side, right? So what the capital markets do is, first and foremost, we'll be able to attract savings investments from both local and foreign investors.
Yeah.
So when we talk about this pool of financing that is available, it covers both local and international investors. And that is why it's important to have these frameworks and all in place, because people are going to invest where they know that, oh, you have all the policies in place and the institutional frameworks and all. So already that allows us to interface with investors that are outside the country. But also it allows us to be able to showcase, our country, right? So if we are saying, look, we have this vision of positioning Zambia as a global green investment hub, because we believe that we have the natural endowment as a country. Look at the Victoria Falls, right? One of the 7th wonders of the world, and many other potential projects that can come out of our country. So it gives us the opportunity as capital markets to raise that flag and say, look, as a country, this is what we have. We have these different projects in these different sectors, and it really just brings out the country to show the attractiveness also of our country. I mentioned that at the time CEC raised their financing, right? We were going through the debt
restructuring.
Yes, restructuring and challenges. But, they saw the viability in the project. They didn't say, look, your country is going through this, let's have this conversation later. There was that objectivity of, let's look at what is this company actually going to do? What do you need the money for? Okay. Is the project viable? Oh, there is a need, there is an opportunity. So it allows us to be able also to bring our country out there and say, look, as Zambia, this is what we are doing. But also, in the work that we've done, I think as financial sector through the mainstreaming working group, we are also now a country that other countries are looking up to see, oh, Zambia is doing something and they've actually gotten it right. And now the question is, how have you done it? How are you doing it? And so we actually get invited to forums and engagements to say, oh, can you please walk us through how has Zambia done it? Because it was the very first time or kind that we saw where we develop a working group such as the one that we have now. The whole financial sector is working together. The government is on board. Key partners are on board. So we don't work in silos. Okay. So we know what the central bank is doing in the green space. We know what, and that allows us to be, they say united we stand, right? Divided we fall. So we are stronger together. So it's initiatives such as those also that help us to be able to be a benchmark to countries in the region and also outside the region.
Okay, great. Sandy, I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? We still have 10 more minutes to our time. Yes, please stand up and give us your question.
Thank you. My name is Murabamwa Pegokwe, and I'm so I asked this question a lot, and I want to hear from different points of view. Currently, we are dealing with climate change, right? But if we analyze our industrialization period, it's somehow a little bit premature. If we compare our industrialization period to developed countries and other developing countries, it was much more significant than ours. Just surface information. So I would like to understand how you're going to balance funding for projects that are advocating to stay green, in as much as we still have to industrialize. We still need manufacturing in order for us to be sustainable. But then manufacturing companies will have to come about with possibilities. We have to need transportation costs, locomotive, trains and planes, all that is still going to be using these fossil fuels. So that's creating the environment. So by what degree are we supposed to create the environment in order for us to be sustainable?
How do we strike the balance, right? Yeah. Okay, great question, Mape.
Great question indeed. And I think the answer is in the question.
Yeah.
It's really about striking the balance, right? And even when we talk about industrialization, we are in an era where we are saying, remember what I said about risk-based supervision, right? So before that, climate risk is probably not something we'd look at when we are supervising or assessing,
an entity,
undertaking a risk assessment on an entity. But now we are living in the reality that climate change is happening. So the question that we are also asking, and what we also want to see is, even as we are undertaking industrialization, we need to make sure that, are we also making sure that we are putting mitigations in place to be able to address some of the climate risks that we are seeing? So if here is, right, you want to set up an industry, could you actually be considering using cars or trucks that electric cars? Yeah, that ran away from me. Why not start thinking about using electric vehicles? And already I think the president, the marketer of our country, has spoken about the opportunity and potential that is there through copper for us to be able to even be able to put in components in batteries, electric vehicle batteries. Yeah. So, you know, it's about changing how we look at things. It's about changing how are we going to grow? How are we going to grow the economy? How are we going to industrialize? So it can't be from a business as usual perspective. We have to be taking all these into perspective, right? Yeah. So that even as we have this ambitious agenda, it doesn't really come at a great cost of hurting the environment even more. Yeah. So a good example is this is also part of what we are undertaking, the continuous obligations, right? So when the companies have issued the green bond and they have all this reporting that they have to do, right? So there is also an interest in us, and right now Zika did adopt the sustainability standards. So which means that even the reporting is not business as usual. There has to be aspects of, you know, how is this interfacing with the environment? How are you doing this? How are you doing that? So like, for example, before CEC was doing the solar plants, right? They had to move the biodiversity in that area. So it wasn't like, oh, snakes bite us, you know, it's fine, they can die. They had to transport snakes out of that area so that they could put up the solar plants, right? So I think the key is in striking that balance and not being, you know, like completely doing away or being ignorant in what can we do better as we have this ambitious agenda.
Okay, great. I hope, Mape, that answers your question. Yeah. Okay, great. Any other questions? We still have 5 more minutes to our town hall.
You know, Stanley, the beauty of doing the town hall virtually is at the office we usually have a team that's waiting to help you with the questions.
Here they're all coming directly.
Here, you know, you're just like, where's the team?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been quite interactive, and then that's a good thing. And like I said, you know, it's very enlightening to see the youths taking charge and asking the tough questions.
The tough questions, yeah. Okay, do we have any questions on Facebook from our Facebook audience?
None.
No questions. Okay, great. To put you on the spot, our director, Mr. Nonde, what, in addition to the conversation, your remarks?
There's the team.
There's the team.
Thanks, and I think that also points to the actual challenge that we have as a country. Climate change has actually put us on the spot. I was just explaining to someone that the one positive that has come out of the last 2 years is that the drought has really made us aware of the reality of climate change. A few years ago, if you talked about climate change, you just sounded like someone who went to Europe, the US, learned a new buzzword and came back and decided to come and shine to people. But just last year, we had no rains, we had a drought, and that translated into words that we are now all familiar with, food security. Basically mean that we were at risk of starvation as a country. We were also not able to generate electricity because our Kariba dam nearly dried up. So we had to face load shedding. And that translated into the economy in very real ways. You guys are students, you are not able to study. But for other people, it literally meant that they were not able to earn their living. So even in the economy, it was really felt like people had orders. If you go to Karingaringa, guys had orders to do whatever metalworks for people, and they couldn't do it. And that meant that they were not able to earn money. So climate change is real. Just to respond to the gentleman who said it's a myth. But the truth of the matter is we experienced the drought. And that is something that we had to react to. And going forward, the sad reality is we are going to have another drought. So we have to be ready. It won't make sense if, God forbid, we have another drought and we're still saying the same things. Or we didn't mine, or rather we didn't grow any food and so on. The thing for this year is adapt. You know the drought is coming, you adapt. Start irrigating, start using solar, grow whatever drought resistance grow something that matures very quickly so that you beat the drought. So we are in a fight against nature, and unfortunately nature is going to change the way it's been interacting with us as a species. So we have to change the way we do things. I just also wanted to react to his question that at the core of everything that we are doing now is we're talking about raising finance for economic development. Let's not lose sight of that, because we can survive and still, we can have all the trees in the world, but what's the point if the future generations are not there? We've all died out. What's the point of having the national wealth that we have and we're not there to enjoy it? So it's really important to balance between economic development. We still need that, but we also need to balance that with protecting the environment, because the two feed off each other. We extract resources from the environment to drive our economic development. So the moment we lose sight of those two interdependencies, then we are truly lost as a people. So those are the benefits of being put on the spot. You have to be ready to answer the climate call, because literally we've been put on the spot. We were in, I think in an earlier panel, someone said we were in a comfort zone. We had a lot of water in the river, and as far as we were concerned, that water would never run out. But God put us on the spot and said, let me pressure you. What are you going to do? And now all of us know about solar. All of us know about saving batteries. All of us know about what we need to do about climate change. It's about taking action at an individual, at a user baker level. You have to go and tell your friends in Nyonza about these things and tell them that it's not just about listening, but you have to take action. Beyond this, you are the future leaders of this country. When we were growing up, we were being taught almost like to be employed. Finish your grade 12, go to Nyonza and get employed. But what we want this generation to do is to finish your Nyonza. If you get employed, well and good. But if you can come up with solutions that address these challenges that we are having, $5 million is small money. It's very small money. If you look at the figures, that are needed to help the 20 million Zambians have better livelihoods, we literally talk billions of dollars. So 5 million into billions of dollars, it's very small money. So the challenge to you, I'm putting you on the spot for the future, come up with billion-dollar deals that can be financed through the capital markets, and we will have a story to tell for everyone that comes to capital markets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nonde. And to end our town hall here, just wrap it up for us. So 2 seconds, or 2 minutes rather.
Yes, I'm going to say that. Okay. I think just to pick it up from where he has said it, our country's national adaptation plan requires financing. So all these national policies and strategies, for us to be able to realize what is in those policies, they need to be financed. And that is why the financial sector becomes critical. And just talking about when he said 5 million is little money, right? The national adaptation plan requires financing of $34 billion US dollars. So that's a lot of money out there that we need if we're going to say we have adapted as a nation. But again, as he was speaking, I was thinking like, where there's crisis, there's opportunity. Today we are talking about solar. It's not like the sun started now. We've always had the sun, right? The issue about being in the comfort zone. Done what we're doing now then, and we could have been exporting this electricity and saying, look, Zambia has so much excess because we generate power through hydro and solar, and now we're exporting out, right? But this has allowed us to say, oh, can we now, align? And so where there's crisis, also there is opportunity, and that's the call so that director was making, that we want to see more happening in that space. Today we go to church, nobody forgets their charger at home, because when you get to church, we are all plugging in, and charge our phones as much as we can. So we are the ones that are being affected. So we are the ones that must take the stand and make that change, because no one is going to come and do it for us. Okay. So I think as we wrap up as well, talking about green, we ended on green, and I've already asked Tari for another town hall to unpack more of green. Yeah. But what we are also doing from the Green Finance Mainstreaming Working Group is the development of a taxonomy. Okay. A taxonomy, a green taxonomy for Zambia. Okay. So this is like a framework that helps you to spell out what is, so it's a guideline.
What really, is green?
Yes, what is green, so that you yourself can do a self-check to say, I have a project, does it meet? If it's going to be green, what should this project have, or what should it do? And then later on, and this is a call to the students, because we are also developing a tagging and reporting system where we want to have a tagging and mapping for all these green financial flows that come in, right? Mm-hmm. And look at which projects are they going to, which sectors are these, so that ultimately we can say, we've raised this much and it has gone in this sector, and this is the development that you're seeing, to speak to the question that he was talking also about industrialization. So I think ultimately it's about green, sustainable, and an inclusive future for Zambia that spurs economic development.
Okay, great. Well put. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Leah, for that very insightful presentation. We've all gotten insightful information and useful information from there, and we now know what SEC is doing in this space, why we're doing what we're doing, and what parts we can all play, right? Great. Okay, so join us next time for another insightful town hall. We have this every last Thursday of the month, and this time we'll be back to our virtual presentation. And yes, that's the end of our town hall today. Please enjoy the rest of the show and visit our stand to our audience out there and our Facebook participants. Thank you.
Thank you. How do I unmic? I still have to go look for my things for the wedding.